Good evening. Hello. Hi. Good evening. Welcome to another Monday Night Live at Cafe Gratitude. Tonight we have someone I've known, again, for a very long time, had the honor of knowing. Matt Samuelson is here. And before I actually introduce him, I want to take care of the usual business. My name is Shea Lynn Baird, and this is my partner, Steven, and we have a healthcare practice in Santa Rosa. We do a lot of detox modalities, colon therapy, foot baths, infrared sauna. We also do food allergy testing, so if you have any interest at all in our practice, and Steven also does massage, we have some literature on our practice, business cards, and some postcards that all have some discounts associated with your first visit. So if you're interested, please do grab some of those. I also want to remind you to sign up for my weekly newsletter. The main thrust of my newsletter at this point is Monday Night Live news. So if you sign up, what you'll get is a weekly newsletter that'll have a link to an audio download of the next coming speaker, and you'll get to hear if you're interested in that presentation. It'll also have a link to the past week's video of their presentation. So if you missed the event or if it's something that you'd like to see again, those are all available to you at no charge because we are videoing. So I also want to tell you who's coming up next. Next week, June 8th, nobody's going to be here for a speaker. There will be no event because Steven and I will be coming home from Raw Spirit Festival. But please still come to Cafe Gratitude, by all means. On June 15th, we have Don Weaver, who's just an amazing human being. He's an ecologist, a gardener. He's been a raw food vegan for 32 years. And he's mostly known as the person who knows all about remineralizing the earth, giving back to the earth that's been so depleted. So his topic will be Gratitude is as Gratitude does. Who wants to remineralize and regenerate the earth? The next week, Bruce Horowitz. Now, interviewing Bruce, I don't know if any of you know who Bruce is. He used to be a local guy. He's moved. He's a raw food chef, and he's also really big in the permaculture community. And when I did my 5-minute phone interview with him, I was so excited. I mean, there was something about the 5 minutes with him on the phone that I hung up and just thought, this guy is tapped in to not only the perfect niche for himself, but for where this movement is going as far as marrying the raw food community with the permaculture community. Because there's a lot of raw foodists, myself included, who don't know anything or that much at all about permaculture or sustainable living. And then there's all the people who get it about how to do all that stuff for the earth, but they don't know anything about raw foods. So we're really hoping to cross-promote that event and have kind of a meeting of the two communities that night. Bruce has an organization called the Raw Institute of Permaculture Education, and of course those initials spell the word ripe. So his talk is The Time is Ripe, Saving the Planet and Ourselves One Bite at a Time. June 29th, I'm excited to say Sherry Soria will be here. She's the founder and director of Living Light Culinary Institute up in Fort Bragg. Her talk is Make Your Life Extraordinary. Why be ordinary when you can be extraordinary? And that's the next 4 speakers. That should take us through June. So again, there's no event Monday, June 8th. And just a reminder that at the end of July, Santa Rosa, thanks to John Kohler, is going to have their first ever Raw Health Expo. The weekend will be July 25th and 26th. I don't have the flyers, but the website is www.rawhealthexpo.com for more information. I hope everyone can make it a big, successful event. So, done with business, on to introducing Matt Samuelson. Matt was the Living Light, the head of the Living Light Culinary Institute chefs from about 2000 to 2004, at which point he left and he traveled the world as a personal chef to celebrities. He was a restaurant consultant, teacher, and caterer. He also launched a raw organic chocolate company. He's got samples and some bars for sale. So I don't know if you've ever have seen I forget what it is, the golden bean, just like the golden mean. So the golden bean, he's got samples and bars and literature here. And I love the name of his company, High Integrity Foods. And he's found himself back at Living Light Culinary Institute again, where he's back as the head chef. So his topic, making your time in the kitchen playful, fun, easy ways to create your own recipes so you're not tied to a book. Here's Matt.
Thanks, Shea. Well, hello everybody, welcome and thanks for coming out. Had a nice drive down from Fort Bragg and it's kind of nice to be in the sun a little bit. So what I want to do tonight is really look at food from a little different angle than a lot of times it is in a recipe book. A lot of times it's people kind of get tied to the idea of, you know, having it come out a certain way. Actually, I was just talking with a lady at our table a few minutes ago, Lydia, and she mentioned something about wants things to come out perfect, and that got me thinking, and I'm going to touch on that in a little bit, because when you realize that you're starting with good, raw, organic ingredients, real healthy, vital food, it's already perfect. You know, you're already starting with the best thing you could have, and what you do to it, if you do it with the right intention and gentle enough, you're only going to make it better, unless you overdo it and then you'll make it worse. So you got a lot of potential, though, already built in for it to be a good thing, just starting with that kind of quality of food. And so just for a minute, I kind of want to share where my perspective is when I approach food, because when I came into it, I didn't have any particular aspiration that I wanted to be a raw food chef. I certainly didn't think I was going to end up doing what I do. I just was someone who'd always played with food and liked creating food and liked using organic ingredients, and this whole crazy idea of not cooking the food was introduced. It just was kind of like, well, yeah, I guess, you know, you don't have to use heat to make it taste good. And when you start to realize what food is, food's energy, right? I mean, when you start off, you've got the sun, you've got the earth, you've got an apple tree, you've got the light hitting it, you've got the minerals coming up from the soil. You have a manifestation in physical form of heavenly and earthly energies. So that's the premium state right there. Now, ideally, maybe we'll all eventually get back to a point when that's most how we want to eat. You know, a lot of people do now, fruitarians and natural hygienists and things like that. And I think it's a really great way to eat. I don't think it's the only way. And the reason I do what I do is I don't really think we're going to turn the world onto raw food with celery sticks and avocados. So we do need what I would call recreational or transitional food, celebratory food, food that is familiar. Because if you go and you're introducing food to friends and family and it's something that you're really into, maybe you've progressed a long way on your raw food journey, and simple kale leaves wrapped around avocado are great for you. It's probably not going to turn on, the family back in Iowa. I'm from Wisconsin. I just speak from experience that you have to have a few tricks up your sleeve. So when you take raw food that's made in a, what I would call, recreational or a celebratory kind of a way, you're making food that's familiar. Not everything, but most of the things you see on the menu here, most of the things you see at any raw food restaurant, and in a lot of raw food cookbooks, they're almost always a raw version of a cooked thing, right? So when you start out with that, you kind of, in some ways, it's tricky because we end up making imitation versions of something we don't want to eat in the first place, which is kind of a bizarre concept, but we spend a lot of time doing that, and sometimes it comes out really amazing, but the idea of mock this and imitation that and faux this, but it's all things that we're saying we don't want to begin with, so why are we trying to replicate them? Sometimes you can just let the raw food speak for itself. So if you take something like a lasagna, for example. Well, we know it as a mixture of cheese and meat oftentimes and white flour for the pasta, but what is really lasagna? What do you like about it? I mean, that's the thing I'm trying to get through, is that when you're eating a food that's your comfort food, what is it when you're eating it that are the qualities that make it so comforting? And when you start to relate to food in that way, you start to realize that there's so many ways you can replicate it. And you don't have to use white flour, and you don't have to use meat, and you don't have to use dairy cheese. You can use a lot of other things in the fruit and vegetable and nut world that are very convincing. I mean, obviously, restaurants like this prove it quite well. At the school where I teach, we show people how to do that all the time. And when you start coming at it from that respect, and you understand the qualities of your foods, what your raw materials can do, it's really easy to replicate something. You can eat something like lasagna, or eat a really rich Mexican meal, or eat some fettuccine Alfredo. And I definitely go out and do sometimes, just for cuisine research. I'm not saying I recommend that, but when I'm traveling, especially internationally, I'm definitely not eating only raw food. I'm pretty much only vegetarian, but I love to try other food so I can get inspired.